All right, Shalom. This is Zariel Ben Yasharallah out of the Lion's Den. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Wadash, Ma'amath. A double honor to the elders and apostles, great millstone who rule well and teach well. A double honor to my elder as well, Ahar1 Ben Yasharallah out of the Lion's Den here in Jacksonville, Florida. And a sincere water to the Akim and Aquatim and the children that's believing and pushing in truth with sincerity. The water. This is an article I was this is an article I was reading and I wanted to do a lesson on it. It says China faces consequences if it helps Russia evade sanctions, U.S. says. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who was due to meet with China's top diplomat Yang Jiechi in Rome on Monday, warned Beijing it would absolutely face consequences if it helped Moscow evade sweeping sanctions over the war in Ukraine. So they met up today. Russia asked China for military equipment after its February 24th invasion of Ukraine, sparking concern in the White House that Beijing may undermine Western efforts to help Ukrainian forces defend their country, several U.S. officials said. Sullivan plans in his meeting with Yang to make Washington's concerns clear while mapping out the consequences and growing isolation China would face globally if it increases its support of Russia, one U.S. official said, without providing details. Asked about Russia's request for military aid, first reported by the Financial Times, Liu Pingyi, spokesperson for China's embassy in Washington, said, "I've never heard of that." He said China found the current situation in Ukraine disconcerting and added, "We support and encourage all efforts that are conducive to a peaceful settlement of the crisis." Liu said utmost efforts should be made to support Russia and Ukraine in carrying forward negotiations despite the difficult situation to produce a peaceful outcome. Sullivan told CNN on Sunday that Washington believed China was aware Russia was planning some action in Ukraine before the invasion took place, although Beijing may not have understood the full extent of what was planned. After the invasion began, Russia sought both military equipment and support from China, the U.S. official said. Sullivan told CNN Washington was watching closely to see what extent Beijing provided economic or material support to Russia and would impose consequences if that occurred. We are communicating directly and privately. That's odd. But we are communicating privately to Beijing that there absolutely will be consequences for large-scale sanctions evasion efforts or support to Russia to backfill them, Sullivan said. We will not allow that to go forward and allow there to be a lifeline to Russia from these economic sanctions from any country anywhere in the world. The meeting, planned for some time, is part of a broader effort by Washington and Beijing to maintain open channels of communication and manage competition between the world's two largest economies, a senior Biden administration said. A senior Biden administration official said, Slovakia, and for them to say that to maintain open channels of communication and manage competition between the world's two largest economies, that lets you know that America and China see eye to eye with the power of their economies. That means that they both have power. All right, and America has more power than America does right now. Their economy is stronger. No specific outcomes were expected, the source added, speaking on condition of anonymity. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lian said the meeting's focus was to implement the important consensus reached during the virtual meeting held between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden in November, which discussed strategic stability and arms control issues. The two sides will exchange views on U.S.-China relations as well as international and regional issues of common concern, he said in a statement published by the ministry's website. Wang Hiao, head of a Beijing think tank and an advisor to the Chinese government, warned of an escalatory spiral in a column published in the New York Times on Sunday and said China was uniquely positioned to act as a neutral mediator between a Western-supported Ukraine and Russia to end the war. Unpalatable, unpalatable as some in the West may find the idea, unpalatable as some in the West may find the idea, it is time to offer the Russian leader an off-ramp with China's help, Wang wrote. U.S. officials were skeptical about the proposal, given China's ties to Russia and its spreading of misinformation related to the war. The United States on Saturday said it would rush up to $200 million worth of additional weapons to Ukrainian forces as they try to defend against Russian shelling in the largest war in Europe since World War II. Washington and its allies have imposed sweeping unprecedented sanctions against Russia and banned its energy imports while providing billions of dollars of military and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. Individually and together, they have appealed to China, Gulf nations, and others that have failed to condemn the Russian invasion to join in isolating Russia from the global economy. Beijing, a key trading partner of Russia, has refused to call Russia's actions an invasion, although Xi last week did call for maximum restraint in Ukraine after a virtual meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron. Xi also expressed concern about the impact of sanctions on global finance, energy supplies, transportation, and supply chains amid growing signs that Western sanctions are limiting China's ability to buy Russian oil. So everybody's telling China to not deal with Russia, but at the same time, China is I'm just going to keep reading. However, Hu Zhijin, former editor-in-chief of the state-backed Chinese Global Times newspaper, said on Twitter, if Sullivan thinks he can persuade China to participate in sanctions against Russia, he will be disappointed. While in Rome, they will do what the Romans do. While in Rome, Sullivan will also meet with Luigi Mattiolo, diplomatic advisor to Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi, to continue coordinating the strong global response to Russian President Vladimir Putin's war of choice, the U.S. official said. Washington and the Group of 7 advanced economies on Friday ratcheted up some pressure on Russia by calling for revoking its most favored nation trade status, which would allow them to jack up tariffs on Russia's goods. Trade made up about 46% of Russia's economy in 2020. That's very, very close to half. Much of that with China, its biggest export destination, Khan. So, majority of Russia's money comes from trading with China, and now China's trying to become pressured into not dealing with China, its biggest export destination, Khan. And that's the end of the article. So with all that being said, America is trying to put pressure on China to leave Russia alone, but ultimately, Russia is they're very close economic buddies, and that made me think of this Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. It says Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the heart's Khan. So right now, America really does not want China to help Russia with this military mission right now. All right, they don't want it because they're scared of it. They don't want it because they know that they can't defeat it. All right, because they keep putting troops around Ukraine. America and everybody and every other nation that's helping Ukraine, they're either giving them money or supplies, but they're not directly giving them boots on the ground. All right. And what Russia is asking for is for China to step in and either give them money or boots on the ground, more manpower. All right. So right here, Proverbs chapter 1, Proverbs chapter 21. I'm going to turn back to it. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Khan. So right now, the Most High is put into the heart of Putin to ask the president of China to do this thing, and the Most High could put the spirit on the president, on the Chinese president, to give him not only money, not only supplies, but also people on the ground to just utterly sweep Ukraine, and that's going to that will bring forth all that's just, and that would just be these prophecies playing out. Uh, this is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 9. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, and thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Verse 10. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. So the Most High could put it in these two men's heart to go directly to America and bring the fight to them, because that's ultimately who Russia is fighting. All right, he's fighting NATO, but NATO was made specifically for the Russian Federation, but it was economically backed by America. America's dollar is failing right now. These sanctions really aren't doing anything for Russia. All right, for all they know, China could be helping them the whole time. But I'm not gonna. Let me get my next scripture. This is Daniel chapter 4, verse 24. It says, "This is the interpretation, O king." All right, and this is Daniel interpreting the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. It says, "This is the interpretation, O king. This is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon the Lord thy king, that they shall drive thee from the land. Thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shalt thou pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will." The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. So right now, that the kingdom, this world, is being taken out of one people's hands and put into another. All right, and what Russia and what everybody what everybody ignorant to the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua thinks is that it's being taken out of America and placed upon Russia or China, but really it's being taken out of America and put into the hands of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, who are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. All right, I'm gonna get my next scripture. All right, this is Psalms chapter 103. Start at verse 15. It says, "As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flowereth. For the wind passeth over." You know what? I'm gonna go up a little. I'm gonna go up to 14. For he know. I'm gonna go to 13. This is Psalms chapter 103, verse 13. "Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him. For he knoweth our frame, he remembereth that we are dust. As for man, his days are as grass, as a flower of the field, so he flowereth. Slakia, so he flourisheth. For the wind passeth over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more." So Russia is trying to regain the kingdom of the USSR, and really, verse 16 of Psalms 103: "For the wind passeth over it, and it is gone, and the place thereof shall know it no more." These kingdoms are not going to be known no more. All right, the kingdom that's going to be known is the kingdom of Yahweh Shai, ruled by the Israelites, and the government, the elect men ruling the government will be the elect of the 12,000 of each of the tribes of Israel. All right, and that's a beautiful thing to see the kingdom of our oppressors be taken down from within itself. This it's a victim of its own foul play. No, because it's such a, even though they're perfect in their wickedness, they're still perfect in their wickedness, and wickedness ultimately leads to destruction. It also leads to termination by Yahweh Yahushua. And this is First Peter chapter 24, Salakia, chapter 1, verse 24. It says, being born again, Salakia, verse 24, for all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. But the word of the Lord endureth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you, Khan. And that just shows the fickleness of all this. Well, I don't say fickleness, but it shows the fickleness of the people who are in charge of everything. Even though even though they're the people in charge to of these nations, the Most High is still controlling them. All right, and they think that they're doing things by the decree of their own mind, something that they themselves created, but ultimately it's Yahweh Yahushua controlling everything. All right. So I pray this lesson was edifying. Shalom.